Hello viewers, my name is Adam,
And I'm Aaron.
and this is Siki Media Productions, here to bring you a new movie review. But before we get to the movie review, I think it's about time we, yet again, have to have this little brief discussion about film criticism.
Yeah, it's become blatantly apparent more and more each time as we review movies on this channel and in general when it comes to the hype between what is a good comic book adaptation compared to what is a poor comic book adaptation.
In fact, it's not just about comic books.
Yeah.
It's about being honest and in the face of reviewing a property from as objective a view as possible.
You can have your favorites. That's fine. It's naturally going to happen. There's movies and series that are close to my heart, and as well as there is for him and for anybody else out there. I mean, that's just going to happen. You shouldn't be bringing in your own misconceptions or feelings into it, unless, of course, you're watching it with fresh, clean eyes.
Or something that's universally known to be something that's quite off when it comes to reviewing properties, i.e., like if productions fell off a bit, or the movie will probably have something wrong with the story that you find in one film, but yet another film will have the exact same issues, but yet you kind of like blow it off because you have a personal bias against that one franchise. Or
in this particular case, we're really trying to center this in when we're trying to do this particular review, which we're going to do for a DC property, this time for Wonder Woman 1984.
And before we even get into the actual thing itself, we will have to admit that yes, this movie do have some glaring
There's problems.
Mm-hmm.
But be that as it may, there is plenty enough in the film itself that can stand on its own and is definitely worth watching.
So let's start with fact of which what's all Wonder Woman 1984 has to offer. And what we have is essentially an extensive two-part reintroduction to the Wonder Woman character portrayed by Gal Gadot during her interpretation of Diana Prince, who will eventually become Wonder Woman.
Gal Gadot continuously proves that she was the best choice to take on this mantle. She embodies the spirit and vigorous ingenuity and presence that is Diana Prince, i.e. Wonder Woman.
She exudes what you expect Wonder Woman to, or Diana Prince, and vice versa, should have. Grace, beauty, strength, and also compassion. And also taking the reins of director once again, and another solo outing for Wonder Woman is Patty Jenkins, who did essentially directed an instant classic from the first film. And so saying that 1984 was highly anticipated is the understatement. But due to a lot of issues concerning film releasing, and eventually the film was set up like mass worldwide via either theatrical experience or HBO Max, which in itself brought a lot of controversy that may also be hindering reasons why people are having such issues with this film.
Mm-hmm.
Still remind that no matter how you watch the film, just judge the movie but we're judging it as we just saw it. But how the financial ends of things go, how is the film creatively?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like you said, the story, it begins with reintroducing the character of Wonder Woman.
I would definitely have to say that the first 30 minutes of this particular film was probably some of the best that I've seen that come out recently for comic book movies in general.
Mm-hmm. But it is unfortunately once after that reintroduction where the film has to essentially the real plot shows its head.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when the problems start to occur. And it should have been an easily avoidable situation due to the fact that the plot that they decided to show is a highly outdated one at that, with a MacGuffin that makes no it borderline the line of silliness,
Mm-hmm.
and it is essentially the wrong type of story to tell for a theatrical experience.
Exactly. This movie and storyline ended up becoming something that felt less of a thematic adventure as it was more of a run-of-the-mill Saturday morning or serialized episode in a long-running series.
Yes.
A throwaway episode, if you may.
And a lot, like, it's not that the fact that the if you want to take an approach on take inspiration from, I'll say, the 1970s Wonder Woman series, which this movie do take visual cues.
Oh yeah, this is
and
heavily
tone-wise
involved with that series. I mean,
it's just that because they decided to have that type of this small scope plot take up such a massive runtime of 2.5 hours, you're essentially like dragging out a plot where it's predictable. Like anything like the use, because especially which is so overused at this point. You really there should have been some clear oversight as to what should have been going on here. But if you was going to take a MacGuffin plot and have some type of Indiana Jones like inspiration with it,
then it should have went towards another particular interesting artifact that was introduced in this film rather than the one that it actually centers itself around. I mean, I don't want to not go into spoilers or anything like that, but there's a particular set of items in here which their roles really should have been. One of them should have been dropped altogether.
Yes.
And the other one should have been the main focus.
And the main focus is essentially the one that they highly promotionalized. And it's a clear get-go. If this movie were to have another run-through script-wise, that should have been a clear, obvious choice. Especially in this film itself, you also give backstory to said thing.
Yeah.
And you should have
expanded backstory, but it's like they give you the bare minimum of it. Yes. Because unfortunately, the thing itself in question only gets like the bare minimum of screen time in and of itself. I was like, it's hardly there. It's just, and I feel like that should have been the main focus right there. We could have used more of that. I wanted more from it. And I think there's another issue that comes up in this film that I feel as though is probably even way more of a grave issue than any other, is that this movie is called Wonder Woman 1984. And for a movie that's specifically titled as such in a particular time frame in history, should have been more emphasized of that time span. I feel as though one of the I will never forget, or at least I will not, this is one excuse I just can't get over, is that there's a particular point in history that really could have emphasized the wonders of Wonder Woman herself, and it had been strict for her character design if they had introduced the concept of the AIDS of the AIDS issue during that time period, and it is not even mentioned. It's not given no focus whatsoever.
In fact, one of the earliest, like a few years ago, when they just started filming this movie, but yet they start promoting it, is this image of Diana looking at a full-on monitors. It's basically all these monitors are showcasing different aspects of the 80s, and in that look at image, it looked like this was supposed to be a more serious film than we wound up getting.
Exactly.
Like, this movie is serious in terms of emotion.
But it's not. But it takes it in such a comedic.
It's not comedic. It's
lighthearted. You're right. Yeah, not comedic, but it is definitely lighthearted, and lighthearted in the sense that I keep saying Saturday morning cartoon, but that's exactly what I felt like when I was watching this film.
The film does take its cues from silliness, as if it was a movie, a modern movie. It was a movie that was made in the 80s.
Yeah.
But it is shot and filmed during this modern age. We still want to say that You Gotta Dot's Wonder Woman, it continues to be one of the most highlighted aspects to all these more recent DC films. The way they decided to advance Wonder Woman in this film going forward is it's clearly the essential reason why this film ultimately comes off more positively than not.
They continuously give me new lenses to appreciate the character of Diana Prince and what she brings towards the Justice League in and of itself, and DC in general.
The other three main characters that you find in this movie, Chris Pine comes back as Steve Trevor in a mysterious way. How it ties into the be careful what you wish for type angle, but That's a very thankless role here.
Yeah, it felt as though he definitely did not necessarily need to have been here.
No.
Especially since you have such a wonderful character as Diana Prince's being played by Gal Gadot. I was like, let her be the hero in her own film without having to rely on Steve Trevor.
And it's not the fact that their chemistry is not well realized here.
It is. I mean, I love them together.
Yes, but
they had that moment, and that was it.
Yes.
I mean, and I feel as though, fine, you brought him back for this film, okay, don't bring him back no more.
And as for the other two main characters who are also the antagonists, Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord he's acted well by the character.
He's one of the aspects of the of this world's or these particular films attempt to try and harken on the 80s aspect as far as the huge emphasis on commercialism in his particular character as being like an oil tycoon. But
I would say that he's in the wrong movie.
Yeah.
This is more like his portrayal is very similar to Jesse Eisenberg's portrayal of Lex Luthor in Batman v Superman. Though minus he's better. I see Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord than I saw Jesse Eisenberg, but he's just the story is not right here.
He's not right. It's like the story they was telling with him could have been done better. It's like this movie is like the characters that's in this movie for me. It's like I can see the movie with these characters in general.
In a different situation.
Exactly. It's like the story could have been... This movie, everybody said it, and we're agreeing with them.
Yes.
This movie needed a rewrite. This movie needed extensive eyes to look at it and to restructure it because it desperately needed it, and it could have helped.
And the same goes for Kristen Wiig's Barbara Minerva, who is portraying Wonder Woman's most common arch enemy, Cheetah. My issues with Kristen Wiig's version of Cheetah is that not the actress herself, because she's doing a good job.
Like I said, everybody did good for what they were given.
Yes. The main issue is that she's portraying a type of character who's been done previously in different other comic movies who have proved to be not work at all.
Except for maybe once. And even then, that in of itself was like a one-time only deal.
And we're talking about the freaking skittish, nerdy type person who eventually becomes to get all confidence and stuff to become either the villain or some anti-hero. That does not work here at all in this film, especially when in the comics Barbara Minerva before
it's anything but. She's a highly confident woman who goes after what she wants no matter the cost.
Like we were bashing on a lot of this film, but we were forgetting that another reason why I'll say that we positively look more favorably on this film is, of course, the production of it.
Yes, there are moments in this film that are definitely worth rewatching. I would rather rewatch this film than quite a few of the Marvel films that came out and other films that came out in general in 2020 at all.
Despite the bare fact that the 1980s, as a story-wise, was not utilized, the 1980s aesthetic do work well with the Wonder Woman character.
It does.
It's also extensive to how they updated the costume to be more brightly colored and how it just embodies, it shows off this character in of itself.
I like seeing them taking Wonder Woman and expressing her through different parts and periods in time. It works for her. I can definitely go with that. If they want to jump forward and do another part of history, that's fine. Or talk about another aspect, that's cool. But either way, like I said, this whole she's a very versatile character to work with.
One of the few complaints many complaints, I'll say that, that people are saying about this film, despite how overlong it is
the lack of action.
I would not say that the film necessarily lack in action.
It's just spaced apart.
Yes, and it's done differently than it did in the first film.
This film, other than the first one, which was more of Diana that was on a offensive war aspect, this movie centers Diana on a more guarded and defensive method.
It's mainly because of the shift in character of she's more understanding of her surroundings and the fact that most of the people that she is coming across in a more combative motion are regular human beings
that cannot, stand on the same toe as she is. I mean, I'm actually thankful that they take that initiative to introduce that aspect of Diana and as a hero in general that is a super powerful being that is wary and cautious of how she approaches and handles certain situations.
And it makes for some very unique action sequences.
It does.
Because it shows off her capabilities, her ingenuity as a combatant in of herself. Yes, the sword and the shield that was introduced when Zack Snyder brought through the character is not present here.
But they're not needed.
It's not, because she's not the way she's fighting. It makes sense. So they're still making some very inventive techniques with Wonder Woman through the use of her lasso, her tiara, and all her other prowesses. One other aspect to the production side of things that I cannot, I just need to say is how Hans Zimmer, who now is 3 for 3 now with the entire trilogy of DC major heroes of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, have brought forth a score that helps basically companions with why we love the character in the first place.
Yeah. If you loved Diana's Wonder Woman score in the first time that she was introduced, you're going to be thrilled with what Hans Zimmer did with it this time. He has evolved it and has become more the heroic tone that I wanted to express in the first time around when I heard it.
It's more heroic, it's more triumphant. And the more action upbeat version of which it was first introduced is present in this film as well, but because of the more lightheartedness and we're showcasing Diana, Wonder Woman, in a more compassionate light that she has ever showcased in the previous other outings, it makes sense for the Hans Zimmer score to reflect that.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, we do have to give the movie its own score and verdict. In this particular time, we're going to have to side on the caution of saying that this movie was particularly just okay.
It could have been done for some reshoots, so accommodate a different direction.
Exactly.
But that is like been there, done that.
But please, by all means, don't just take our word for it. Watch the movie for yourself. Do not allow other individuals out there to influence whether or not you're willing to watch this movie for yourself. Do yourself the favor and give it your own critique.
All right, but that's what we have to say about Wonder Woman, 1984.
Please, guys, if you like this particular video, like, share, and subscribe, and hit that little bell down there at the bottom for notifications so we can update you more for more content.
Comment below. We want to hear what you think. What you feel about film criticism today, or just about the movie itself. My name is Adam.
And I'm Amir.
This has been Sticky Media Productions.
See you guys.